I woke up on a piece of cardboard under a bridge with my pregnant belly pressing against my ribs. And that's when I knew I had officially become the thing my mother warned me I'd never be. Hey everyone, before we dive in, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. My name is Amara, and 6 months ago, I was a junior at State University studying civil engineering with a 3.8 GPA and a full scholarship. Today, I'm 21 years old, 7 months pregnant, and I have been sleeping behind a grocery store for the past 3 weeks because the shelters are always full by the time I get there. People don't see you when you're homeless. That's the first thing I learned. They look right through you like you're made of glass, or worse, like you're something dirty they need to step around. I tried to keep myself clean. There was a gas station 2 blocks from where I usually slept, and if I went in during the early morning shift, the older guy working the counter would let me use the bathroom without buying anything. I'd wash my face, try to fix my hair, brush my teeth with the toothbrush I kept in my backpack. I wanted to hold on to some piece of the person I used to be. The baby kicked a lot now. Strong, insistent kicks that felt like tiny fists punching against the inside of my stomach. Sometimes I'd put my hand there and whisper that everything would be okay, but I didn't believe it. How could I? I didn't have a plan beyond surviving each day. I didn't have prenatal care. I hadn't been to a doctor since I lost my student health insurance. The fear lived in my throat like a stone I couldn't swallow. It happened so fast, losing everything. That's what people don't understand. One day you're normal, going to classes, worrying about exams and whether you'll get that internship you applied for. The next day, the floor drops out from under you and you're falling. And you keep thinking you'll hit bottom and be able to stand up again, but you just keep falling. My boyfriend Marcus was the father. Because he stopped being anything to me the day I told him I was pregnant, and he looked at me like I'd just announced I had a terminal illness. We'd been together for 2 years. I loved him. I thought he loved me. But when I said the word pregnant, something in his face just closed shut, like a door slamming shut. "You need to take care of it," he said. "Not we, you." "I can't," I told him. "I don't want to." He left my apartment that night and blocked my number. I found out later he'd transferred to a school in another state. Just like that. 2 years, and he could walk away like I was nothing. My mother was a different kind of loss. She'd raised me alone after my father died when I was 6, worked 2 jobs to keep us in a decent neighborhood with good schools. She had dreams for me, big dreams. "You're going to be somebody," she'd say. Usually while ironing my school uniform at midnight, her eyes heavy but determined. "You're going to have the life I never got." When I called to tell her about the pregnancy, there was a silence so long I thought the call had dropped. "Mama? You're throwing your life away." Her voice was flat, emotionless. "After everything I sacrificed." "I'm not throwing anything away. I can still finish school. I can..." "With a baby? By yourself? You're living in a fantasy, Amara." "I need help, Mama. I can't do this alone." Another long silence, then, "You made your choice. Now you live with it. Don't call me again until you're ready to be realistic." She hung up. That was 4 months ago. I'd tried calling back dozens of times, but she never answered. I lost the scholarship because I couldn't focus on classes anymore. The morning sickness was brutal in the first trimester, and I was so tired all the time, so anxious. My grades slipped. I missed deadlines. The financial aid office sent me warning letters I couldn't bear to read. By the time I admitted to myself that I was drowning, it was too late. The scholarship was revoked. Without it, I couldn't afford tuition. Without tuition, I couldn't stay in student housing. I tried to keep working my part-time job at the campus bookstore, but when they found out I was homeless, they let me go. "Liability issues," my manager said, not meeting my eyes. I applied everywhere. Fast food, retail, cleaning services, but nobody wants to hire someone who's visibly pregnant and has no permanent address. You can see it in their faces when you walk in for the interview. The decision is already made. The streets taught me things I never wanted to know. Which alleys were safe and which ones weren't. How to make yourself small and unnoticeable. that you should never fall into deep sleep, only half sleep, always listening. That other homeless people were sometimes the kindest humans you'd ever meet, and sometimes the most dangerous. That hunger becomes a constant companion you learn to ignore, but you can't ignore it when you're eating for two. I rationed the little money I had. Sometimes I could buy a $1 burger and make it last all day, eating tiny bites. I drank water from public fountains. The baby kept growing anyway, taking what it needed from my body. I could feel myself getting weaker. My clothes hung loose everywhere except my belly, which seemed enormous now, tight and round and impossible to hide. That morning, the morning everything changed, I woke up under the bridge to the sound of traffic overhead and rain starting to fall. My cardboard was already soggy, and I knew it would be useless soon. I'd have to find somewhere else. The baby was kicking hard, had been kicking on and off all night, and I felt a sharp pain in my lower back that wouldn't go away. I walked to the gas station, but there was a different person working the counter, a young woman who watched me suspiciously when I asked to use the bathroom. She shook her head. "Customers only." "Please," I said. "I just need customers only." She said it louder, like I was stupid or deaf. I left. The rain was falling harder now. Cold October rain that soaked through my thin jacket in seconds. I walked without destination, just trying to keep moving because moving was warmer than standing still. The pain in my back was getting worse, radiating around to my stomach. I told myself it was nothing, just normal pregnancy stuff. It had to be nothing because I couldn't afford for it to be something. Downtown was busy with morning commuters, people rushing to their jobs with umbrellas and coffee cups, everyone moving so fast. I found an overhang outside a closed storefront and sat down, pressing my back against the wall. The pain was sharp now, coming in waves. I put my hands on my belly and felt how hard it was, how tight. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt strange. The rain kept falling. People kept walking past. Nobody stopped. Then I saw the car. It was a black Mercedes, sleek and expensive looking, completely out of place in this neighborhood. It pulled up to the curb right in front of where I was sitting, and for a moment, I thought maybe someone was parking, about to get out and tell me to move. I started to push myself up, but the pain hit again and I gasped, doubling over. The driver's side door opened. A man got out. He was older, maybe in his 50s, black, wearing an expensive suit and a long wool coat. He held a large black umbrella. He looked at me for a long moment, and I waited for the usual reaction: disgust, pity, that quick look away. But he didn't look away. He walked over and held the umbrella over me, blocking the rain. Up close, I could see the concern in his eyes, the lines around his mouth. He had kind eyes, tired but kind. "How far along are you?" His voice was deep, gentle. "7 months," I whispered. "When's the last time you saw a doctor?" I couldn't answer that. Tears started running down my face, mixing with the rain. He crouched down, careful not to get his expensive clothes dirty, until he was at eye level with me. "When's the last time you ate something?" "Yesterday, I think. Maybe." He nodded slowly, like he was making a decision. Then he said 5 words that would change everything. "Come with me, right now." I didn't move, couldn't move. Every survival instinct I'd developed over the past 3 weeks was screaming at me not to trust this, not to get into a stranger's car, especially not a stranger with money who had no reason to care about someone like me. "I know how this looks," he said, reading my face. "I know you have no reason to trust me, but you're in pain, you're pregnant, and you need help. My name is James Fletcher. I own a chain of medical clinics. I'd like to take you to one of them, get you checked out, make sure your baby is okay. After that, if you want to leave, I'll drive you anywhere you want to go. No strings, no expectations, just please let me help you." Another wave of pain hit, stronger this time. I heard myself make a sound I didn't recognize. something between a moan and a gasp. My vision blurred at the edges. "That's not normal," he said, his voice urgent now. "You need to be seen. Now." Maybe it was the pain. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the way he looked at me. Not through me, not past me, but actually at me, like I was a person who mattered. I nodded. He helped me stand, and I realized how tall he was, how solid. He kept one hand on my arm, steadying me, while he held the umbrella over both of us with the other. He guided me to the passenger side of the Mercedes and opened the door. The interior was warm, leather seats that were softer than anything I'd touched in months. I sank into it and felt my whole body tremble with relief. He got in on the driver's side and immediately turned up the heat. There's water in the center console and some protein bars in the glove compartment. Eat slowly. I grabbed the water bottle and drank, trying not to gulp it down too fast. The protein bar tasted like chocolate and peanut butter and heaven. I ate half of it and made myself stop, even though I wanted to devour them all. "What's your name?" he asked as he drove. "Amara. Amara Johnson." "Amara," he repeated. "That's beautiful. It means eternal in Sanskrit." "I didn't know that." "Do you have any family in the city?" The question hit harder than the pain had. "No. I mean, my mother lives here, but we're not in contact." He didn't push, just nodded and kept driving. We went through neighborhoods I vaguely recognized, then ones I didn't, until we pulled into a parking lot in front of a modern building with a sign that said, Fletcher Family Medical Center. Inside, it was warm and clean and bright. A woman at the front desk looked up, started to smile professionally, then saw me, soaking wet, dirty, obviously homeless, and her smile froze. "Sheila," James said, his voice carrying authority, "this is Amara. She's 7 months pregnant and experiencing severe abdominal pain. I need Dr. Patterson in exam room 1 immediately." "Yes, Mr. Fletcher." Sheila's professionalism snapped back into place, right away. Everything moved fast after that. A nurse took my vitals, asked me questions I struggled to answer because I didn't know the dates of anything anymore, didn't remember the last time I'd had a proper meal. Dr. Patterson was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and gentle hands. She examined me carefully while James waited outside. "Your blood pressure is too low. You're dehydrated and malnourished. The baby seems okay for now, but those pains you're having, they're Braxton Hicks contractions, false labor. Your body is under tremendous stress. Is the baby going to be okay?" That was all I could think to ask. "If we get you stable, yes. But Amara, you can't keep living the way you've been living. You're at high risk for preterm labor, for complications. You need consistent care, proper nutrition, a safe place to rest." I know, but I don't have any of that." "I understand." She squeezed my hand. "Mr. Fletcher has asked to speak with you. I'm going to start an IV, get some fluids in you, and we'll go from there. Okay?" I nodded. The IV stung going in, but then there was just relief as the fluid started flowing. James came back in a few minutes later, pulling a chair next to the exam table. Dr. Patterson gave me the summary. "You need bed rest, proper meals, prenatal care." I know. I don't know how to make that happen. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "I have a proposition for you. Hear me out before you say no." My heart started pounding. Here it comes, the catch, the thing he wants in return. "I have a large house. Too large, really, just for me. My wife passed away 3 years ago. Cancer. We never had children, though we wanted them. The house has been empty except for me rattling around in it, and I've been looking for purpose, for a way to do something meaningful with what I have. When I saw you this morning, it felt like an answer to something I've been praying about. I don't understand. I want to offer you a place to stay. A bedroom, your own bathroom, access to the kitchen, everything you need. In exchange, nothing. Just let me help you. Let me make sure you and your baby are safe and healthy. Once you have the baby, once you're back on your feet, you can decide what comes next. But right now, I can give you what you need most: time and safety. I stared at him. Why? You don't know me. I could be anyone. You're someone who needs help. That's all I need to know. People don't just do this. This doesn't happen in real life. It does if we make it happen. His eyes were steady on mine. I'm not a saint, Amara. I'm just a man who has more than he needs and met someone who needs more than she has. The math is simple. What do you get out of it? He thought about that. Peace, maybe. The chance to do something that matters. I've spent the last 3 years being successful and hollow. This gives me a reason to wake up in the morning that isn't just about making more money I don't need. The IV drip was steady in my arm. The room was warm. For the first time in weeks, I felt safe. But trust is hard when you've been hurt so many times. I need to think about it, I said. Of course. Take your time. He stood up. I'll be in the waiting room. Dr. Patterson wants to keep you here for a few hours, make sure you're stable. Rest. Eat something else when they bring you food. Think it over. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. He left, and I was alone with the beep of the monitor and my racing thoughts. A stranger was offering me everything I needed. It was too good. Things like this didn't happen to people like me. There had to be a catch, a hidden cost, something wrong with it. But what if there wasn't? What if sometimes, impossibly, kindness was just kindness? The nurse brought me soup and crackers. I ate slowly, savoring every bite. The baby kicked, a rolling movement across my belly that made me smile despite everything. What do you think? I whispered to my stomach. Can we trust him? Another kick. I chose to interpret that as a yes. 3 hours later, Dr. Patterson cleared me to leave. You're stable for now, but I want to see you back here in 2 days for a full prenatal workup. And Amara, whatever Mr. Fletcher offered you, I hope you seriously consider it. I've worked for him for 8 years. He's one of the good ones. James was reading a magazine in the waiting room. He stood when he saw me, and there was something hopeful in his expression that made him seem younger. I'll come stay with you, I said. But I need you to understand something. I'm not a charity case. I'm not a project. I'm a person who's going through something hard. And if you're going to help me, I need you to see me as a person, not as someone to feel sorry for. I do see you, he said quietly. I see someone strong enough to survive what would break most people. Someone brave enough to choose to have their baby even when the world made it nearly impossible. I see you, Amara, and I'm honored that you're giving me this chance. We drove through the city as evening fell, the streetlights coming on one by one. He lived in a neighborhood I'd only ever seen from bus windows, the kind where the houses had gates and long driveways and perfect lawns. His house was a 2-story colonial with white pillars and black shutters, beautiful in an understated way. Inside was even more impressive. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, furniture that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Everything was clean and organized and quietly expensive, but it didn't feel cold. There were photos on the walls. James with a beautiful woman I assumed was his late wife, the two of them smiling at various locations around the world. Books everywhere, plants on the windowsills. Your room is upstairs, he said. I had my housekeeper prepare it this afternoon while we were at the clinic. I hope it's okay. He led me up the stairs and down a hallway, then opened a door to a bedroom that made my throat close up. It was painted a soft cream color, with a queen-size bed covered in a fluffy white comforter, a dresser, a desk by the window. The attached bathroom had a bathtub. An actual bathtub. There are clothes in the dresser, he said. I had Sheila from the clinic buy them. She guessed at your size. If they don't fit or you don't like them, we can get different ones. Towels are in the bathroom cabinet. My room is at the end of the hall. Kitchen is downstairs. Help yourself to anything. And Amara. He paused in the doorway. Welcome home. I couldn't hold it together anymore. As soon as he closed the door, I sat on the edge of that soft bed and cried. Not sad crying, not scared crying. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. I took a bath that night that lasted an hour, the hot water easing aches I'd gotten used to carrying. I washed my hair 3 times just because I could. The clothes in the dresser fit perfectly. Soft maternity leggings, oversized sweaters, new underwear still in the package. I put on clean pajamas and climbed into that bed. And the sheets smelled like lavender, and I fell asleep before I could even think about how my life had changed in one impossible day. But as I drifted off, a small voice in the back of my mind whispered, what does he really want? Nobody does this for nothing. I woke up to sunlight streaming through gauze curtains and, for a confused moment, thought I was dreaming. Then the baby kicked, and I remembered. James Fletcher. The house. The second chance I didn't ask for, but desperately needed. My phone, which I had kept alive by charging it at public libraries, showed 9:47 a.m. I'd slept for almost 12 hours. My body felt different, looser, like it had finally allowed itself to let go of the constant tension of survival mode. I found James in the kitchen, reading a newspaper with reading glasses perched on his nose and a cup of coffee steaming beside him. He looked up and smiled when I came in. Good morning. How did you sleep? Like I'd been awake for a year. I hesitated in the doorway, suddenly aware that I was standing in this man's house, wearing clothes he'd bought me, having slept in his guest room. The weight of the debt I was accumulating pressed down on me. Thank you for everything. I don't know how I'll ever pay you back, but I will, somehow. He set down the newspaper and removed his glasses. Amara, I need you to understand something. This isn't a loan. You don't owe me anything. The only thing I ask is that you take care of yourself and that baby. That's it. But people don't just, yes, they do. They should, anyway. Sit down. Are you hungry? I can make eggs, pancakes, oatmeal, whatever you want. The mention of food made my stomach growl audibly. He laughed, a warm sound that filled the bright kitchen. Eggs it is. How do you like them? However you're making them. I sat at the kitchen island and watched him cook, this millionaire who apparently knew his way around a stove. He made scrambled eggs with cheese, toast with real butter, sliced strawberries that were perfectly ripe. He set the plate in front of me and I ate slowly, trying to have manners even though I wanted to shovel it all in my mouth.
So, he said, sitting across from me with his coffee, I was thinking we should set up a routine. Dr. Patterson wants to see you twice a week for now. I can drive you to appointments, or I can arrange for a car service if you'd rather have independence. There's a grocery delivery service I use. You can order whatever you want, whenever you want it. And I thought maybe you'd want to think about what comes next, after the baby is born. I've been trying not to think about that part, I admitted. It's too big. Too scary. That's understandable. But you have time now. Time to plan, to think about what you want your life to look like. You mentioned you were studying engineering? Civil engineering. I had a full scholarship. I was good at it. Past tense. Everything was past tense now. What if you went back? I almost laughed. How? I lost the scholarship. I can't afford tuition. And even if I could, who's going to watch the baby while I'm in class? I can't exactly take an infant to thermodynamics. These are solvable problems, Amara. Expensive problems, but solvable. I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. He leaned forward. Here's what I'm thinking. You live here, rent-free, for as long as you need. After the baby is born, we set up childcare.
either a nanny or a good daycare, whatever you're comfortable with. You re-enroll at the university. I'll cover the tuition. That's insane. That's too much. It's an investment in you, in your future. You finish your degree, you get a good job, you build a life for yourself and your child. That's what I want to see happen. Why? The question burst out of me. I don't understand why you're doing this. What do you get out of it? And please don't say peace or purpose. There has to be more to it than that. He was quiet for a long moment, staring into his coffee cup. When he looked up, his eyes were sad. My wife's name was Caroline. We were married for 26 years. We tried to have children for most of that time. It just never happened. We did IVF, 3 rounds. She had 2 miscarriages. The second one almost killed her. After that, we decided to stop trying, to be enough for each other. And we were happy. We really were. He took a sip of coffee, and I stayed quiet, sensing there was more. 3 years ago, Caroline found a lump. By the time they diagnosed it, the cancer was stage 4. She died 6 months later. And in those last months, when she knew she was dying, you know what she talked about? Not the trips we'd taken or the success we'd had. She talked about how she wished she'd helped more people, how she wished we'd spent less time building wealth and more time using it to make a difference. His voice cracked slightly. She made me promise that I'd find ways to help, really help, not just write checks to charities, but actually get involved in people's lives. For 3 years, I've been trying to figure out how to keep that promise. Then yesterday, I drove down a street I never drive down because my usual route was blocked, and I saw you. And Caroline's voice was in my head saying, "This one. Help this one." Tears were running down my face. "I'm sorry about your wife." "Thank you. But do you understand now? This isn't about you owing me. This is about me owing her, owing the universe, owing whatever force brought me down that street yesterday. You're helping me as much as I'm helping you." "I still don't think it's equal," I said. "But I'm grateful, more than I can say." "That's enough. Now, finish those eggs before they get cold." The next few weeks fell into a rhythm I'd forgotten could exist. I saw Dr. Patterson twice a week, and every checkup was better than the last. My blood pressure improved. I gained weight, healthy weight, baby weight, the kind that made Dr. Patterson smile and nod approvingly. The baby seemed to sense the change too, moving and kicking with what I imagined was contentment. James went to work most days. He still ran his medical clinics, though he had a management team that handled the day-to-day operations. But he was always home for dinner. We'd eat together in the dining room or on nice evenings on the back patio. And we'd talk about everything and nothing. He told me about growing up poor in Detroit, about working 3 jobs to put himself through college, about meeting Caroline at a hospital where he was working as an orderly and she was a nursing student. I told him about my childhood, about my father dying in a construction accident when I was 6, about watching my mother work herself to exhaustion to give me opportunities, about Marcus, though that was hard, about the isolation of those weeks on the street, the fear that had become my constant companion. "Have you thought about reaching out to your mother?" he asked one night. "Every day. But I don't know what to say. She was so angry, so disappointed. Maybe she's had time to think too, to miss you. Or maybe she's relieved I'm gone. I doubt that very much." I wanted to believe him, but the wound was too fresh, too raw. The house had a library, a whole room lined with bookshelves, and I spent hours in there reading everything I could get my hands on. James noticed and started bringing me books about engineering, about architecture, about building things. "Don't let your brain get soft," he said. "Keep it sharp." I started sketching again, something I hadn't done since I lost the scholarship. Bridges, buildings, impossible structures. It felt good to create something, even if it was just on paper. One afternoon, about a month after I'd moved in, I was in the library when James came home early from work. He looked stressed, which was unusual for him. "Everything okay?" I asked. He sat down heavily in one of the leather chairs. "I got a call from my sister today. She lives in California. Her son, my nephew, Marcus, he's in trouble. Drugs, debt, bad crowd. She's been trying to help him, but she's running out of options and money." "I'm sorry, that must be hard." "It is, and it made me think about something." He looked at me. "Family is complicated. People we love hurt us. We hurt them. But that doesn't mean the love disappears. It just gets buried under all the pain." I knew he was talking about my mother as much as his nephew. "I'm not ready," I said quietly. "I know, but maybe start thinking about it. Because that baby you're carrying, they're going to want to know their grandmother someday. And your mother is going to want to know them." That night, I lay in bed with my hands on my belly, feeling the baby move, and I thought about my mother, about the sacrifice she'd made for me, the dreams she'd had, about how her anger had probably come from fear that I'd end up struggling like she had, that all her work would be for nothing. I picked up my phone and stared at her contact. My thumb hovered over the call button, but I couldn't do it. Not yet. Instead, I sent a text. "I'm okay. The baby's okay. I'm living somewhere safe. I'm sorry for disappointing you, but I'm going to be okay. I love you." I hit send before I could change my mind. 3 dots appeared immediately, meaning she was typing. Then they disappeared. Then appeared again. Then disappeared. No message came. I cried myself to sleep that night. But it was a different kind of crying than before. Not hopeless crying, just sad, grieving for something that might be lost forever. The next morning, I woke up to a single text from my mother. "I love you too. Always have. Always will." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't everything fixed, but it was something. A crack in the wall. A possibility of someday. And for now, that was enough. The baby came 3 weeks early, on a Tuesday morning in November. I woke up at 4 a.m. to wetness between my legs and a cramping sensation that felt different from the Braxton Hicks contractions I'd gotten used to. For a moment, I lay there in the dark, trying to convince myself it was nothing, just another false alarm. Then the cramping intensified, becoming a wave of pressure that radiated from my lower back around to my stomach, and I knew. "James," I called out, trying to keep my voice calm, but hearing the panic in it anyway. "James!" His bedroom door opened immediately. Had he even been asleep? And within seconds, he was in my room, turning on the light, taking one look at my face and the damp sheets, and moving into action. "Okay, this is happening. We're okay. Everything is going to be fine. Let me grab your hospital bag." We'd packed it together 2 weeks ago following a checklist from one of the pregnancy books he'd bought. Comfortable clothes, toiletries, newborn diapers, tiny onesies, and soft yellows and greens, because I decided not to find out the sex. We joked about whether to include snacks, and he insisted, saying hospital food was terrible even in the best hospitals. The contractions are coming regularly now, about 7 minutes apart. James helped me down the stairs, his arms solid around my waist. The hospital was a 20-minute drive, but at 4:30 in the morning with no traffic, we made it in 12. Labor was nothing like the videos we'd watched in the birthing class James had signed us up for. It was harder, longer, more intense. The pain came in waves that left me gasping, and between the waves, I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes open. James stayed with me the whole time, holding my hand, wiping my forehead with a cool cloth, telling me I was strong, I was doing great, almost there. "I can't," I sobbed at one point, maybe hour 6 or 7. "I can't do this anymore." "You can," he said firmly. "You already are. You're doing it right now."
Dr. Patterson was there too, calm and encouraging. "You're at 9 centimeters, Amara. So close. You're doing beautifully." At 2:47 p.m., after 10 hours of labor, my daughter was born. They placed her on my chest immediately. This tiny, perfect creature with a full head of dark hair and lungs that worked incredibly well based on the volume of her cries. She was beautiful. She was mine. I looked down at her and felt something fundamental shift in my chest, like my heart had suddenly expanded to twice its normal size. "Hi," I whispered through tears. "Hi, baby. I'm your mama. I've got you. I've got you now." James was crying too. I looked up and saw tears running down his face as he stared at my daughter with an expression of pure wonder. "She's perfect," he said. "Amara, she's absolutely perfect." "Do you want to hold her?" I asked. He looked surprised, then deeply moved. "May I?" I nodded, and the nurse showed him how to support her head. He cradled her so carefully, like she was made of glass and wishes, and she stopped crying, looking up at him with dark, unfocused eyes. "Hello, little one," he said softly. "Welcome to the world. You have no idea how wanted you are." I'd been thinking about names for months, but hadn't settled on anything until that moment. Looking at James holding my daughter, seeing the love on his face, thinking about Caroline and her wish to help people, it came to me. "Hope," I said. "Her name is Hope Caroline Johnson." James looked up, startled. "Caroline? She saved me. Even though I never met her, she saved me when you kept your promise to her. So Hope gets to carry her name, if that's okay with you." "That's more than okay." His voice was thick with emotion. "That's perfect." The hospital kept us for 2 days, making sure Hope and I were both healthy. James went home to prepare, though I wasn't sure what that meant. When he picked us up to bring us home, I found out. The guest room I'd been staying in had been transformed. The desk was gone, replaced with a white crib with a mobile of stars and moons hanging above it. There was a changing table stocked with diapers and wipes, a rocking chair by the window, shelves with baby books and stuffed animals. Across the hall, my things had been moved to a bigger bedroom, the master suite on the second floor, the one I had assumed was James's. "What did you do?" I asked, stunned. "The baby needs her own room, and you need more space. I moved down to the first floor guest room. It's actually better for my back, fewer stairs." "James, this is your house. You don't have to—" "It's our house," he said gently. "Yours, mine, and Hope's. Family doesn't have to be blood, Amara. It can be choice, and I'm choosing you both, if you'll have me." I couldn't speak, could only nod and cry while Hope slept peacefully in my arms, unaware that she'd been born into a family that had built itself from broken pieces and impossible kindness. Those first weeks with a newborn were exactly as hard as everyone said, and harder than I'd imagined. Hope woke up every 2 hours to eat, and I was so exhausted I sometimes fell asleep sitting up while feeding her. But James was there, always. He'd take Hope after night feeding so I could sleep, walking the halls with her, singing soft songs. He learned to change diapers, to swaddle, to interpret the different types of cries. He was better at it than I was sometimes, more patient, less frazzled. "You're a natural," I told him one night, watching him rock Hope back to sleep. "I'm just an old man who finally got to be a grandfather," he said. "That's what this feels like getting a grandchild. Then that makes you Grandpa James," he smiled. "I like that. Grandpa James." When Hope was 3 weeks old, my phone rang. My mother's name appeared on the screen, and my heart jumped into my throat. "Hello? Amara?" Her voice was soft, tentative. "How are you, baby?" "I'm okay, Mama. I'm good, actually. And the baby? I got your text, but you never said, boy or girl?" "Girl. Her name is Hope." A long pause. Then, quietly, "I'd like to meet her, if that's okay, if you're willing." "I'd like that too." We arranged for her to come over the following Saturday. I was nervous all week, cleaning things that were already clean, changing my outfit 3 times that morning. James gave me space, but was nearby if I needed him. When the doorbell rang, I opened it to find my mother standing there with a large gift bag and tears already in her eyes. She'd aged in the months we'd been apart. New lines around her eyes, more gray in her hair. Or maybe I'd just never noticed before. Hi, Mama. Oh, Amara. She pulled me into a hug and I felt how much she was shaking. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was angry and scared and I said terrible things I didn't mean. I know. I'm sorry too. We pulled apart and just looked at each other for a moment. Then, Hope made a noise from her bouncer in the living room and my mother's whole face transformed. Is that her? Come meet your granddaughter. My mother walked over and knelt by the bouncer, staring down at Hope with an expression of awe. She's beautiful. She looks like you did as a baby. Same nose, same chin. She looked up at me. Can I hold her? I picked Hope up and placed her in my mother's arms. My mother started crying immediately, holding Hope close, kissing her forehead. Hi, sweet girl. I'm your Grandma Joyce. I love you so much already. James came out then, having been tactfully giving us privacy in the kitchen. My mother looked up at him, then at me, questions in her eyes. Mama, this is James Fletcher. He saved us, gave us a home when we had nowhere to go. He's family. My mother stood, still holding Hope, and looked at James for a long moment. Then, she stepped forward and hugged him with one arm, Hope held carefully with the other. Thank you, she said simply. Thank you for taking care of my girl when I didn't. Thank you for being who I should have been. You're here now, James said. That's what matters. We spent that afternoon together, the four of us, talking and healing and building something new from the ruins of what had broken. My mother apologized more, explaining that she'd been so scared of me struggling like she had, of watching me throw away the future she'd worked so hard to give me. I explained that I hadn't thrown anything away, just taken a different path than planned. I'm going back to school, I told her, in January for spring semester. James is going to help with childcare while I'm in class. You're going back? Amara, that's wonderful. She looked at James. And you're helping with that too? It's what Hope's namesake would have wanted, he said. Caroline believed in investing in people, in their potential. Amara has enormous potential. She always has, my mother said softly, looking at me with pride. Before she left that day, my mother pulled me aside. I want to help too, with Hope. Babysitting, whatever you need. I know I can't undo the time we lost, but I want to be here for what comes next. I'd like that. Hope should know her grandma. Both her grandmas, my mother said, glancing at where James was making faces at Hope, getting her to smile. Because that man, that's her grandpa, blood or not. Over the next months, life found its rhythm. I re-enrolled at the university, picking up classes toward my engineering degree. It was hard, balancing school with being a new mother, but I was doing it. My mother came over 3 days a week to watch Hope while I was in class. James hired a nanny for the other 2 days, a kind older woman named Rosa, who Hope adored. My grades were good, better than good, actually. I was focused in a way I'd never been before, knowing that everything I learned, every skill I gained, was building toward a future for Hope. I wasn't just studying for myself anymore. I was studying for us. Hope grew and changed every day, hitting milestones that filled me with joy and terror in equal measure. Her first smile, her first time sleeping through the night, learning to roll over, then sit up, then crawl. James documented everything with his phone, sending pictures to my mother and to Dr. Patterson and to the nurses at the clinic who'd all fallen in love with my daughter. On Hope's first birthday, we had a party in James's backyard. My mother was there, and Dr. Patterson and Rosa and some classmates from the university who had become friends. We sang happy birthday, and Hope smashed her face into a cupcake with pink frosting, getting it everywhere, and everyone laughed. That night, after everyone had gone home and Hope was asleep, I found James sitting on the back patio looking up at the stars. Thank you, I said, sitting beside him, for everything, for giving me my life back. You gave yourself your life back. I just provided a safe place for you to do it. It's more than that. You showed me what kindness looks like, what family can be.
Hope is going to grow up knowing that love isn't just blood, it's choice. That's because of you. It's because of us, he corrected. All of us. You, me, your mother. We chose each other. We built this. I graduate in May. I got the internship I applied for at the civil engineering firm downtown. It's paid, good money. I can start saving, maybe get my own place eventually.
Or you could stay, he said quietly. This house is too big for one old man. It's better with you and Hope in it. You don't have to, of course, but the offer stands. For as long as you want. I thought about that. About Hope growing up in this house with its library and its big backyard. About my mother coming over for Sunday dinners. About James teaching Hope to read, to ride a bike, to be curious about the world. About the family we'd built from nothing. I think we'll stay, I said. If you're sure. I've never been more sure of anything. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars, and I thought about the girl who'd slept on cardboard under a bridge. She felt like someone from another lifetime. But she'd been strong enough to survive until help came. She'd been brave enough to accept that help when it was offered. And now she was becoming someone new. Someone with a future, with a family, with hope. Hope was asleep in her crib, safe and warm and loved. And that was everything. 3 years passed in what felt like both a heartbeat and a lifetime. I graduated magna cum laude with my degree in civil engineering, and Hope sat in the audience at 2.5 years old, clapping enthusiastically every time someone's name was called, not just mine. James and my mother sat on either side of her, both of them crying when I walked across that stage. The internship became a full-time job, then a promotion. I was designing bridges, solving problems, building things that would last. Hope started preschool and loved it with the fierce, total enthusiasm she brought to everything. She was fearless, my daughter, always ready to try new things, to make friends, to explore. She had James's kindness and my mother's stubbornness and my love of building things. She'd spend hours with blocks and Legos creating elaborate structures, narrating stories about the people who lived in them. She called James Papa James and my mother Grandma Joyce, and she didn't understand that our family was different from other families. To her, this was just normal. 2 grandparents who loved her, a mother who was working hard, a big house with a yard to play in. She didn't know about the cardboard or the bridge or the rain. She didn't need to. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I thought about it. Especially on hard days, when a project at work went wrong, or Hope was testing boundaries, or I was just tired. I'd think about how close I'd come to losing everything. And I'd feel this wave of gratitude so strong it almost knocked me over. One evening in late spring when Hope was 4, we had a family dinner. My mother had brought her famous lasagna, Rosa joined us with homemade flan, and James opened a bottle of wine for the adults, while Hope drank apple juice from a fancy wine glass because she wanted to be like us. After dinner, Hope fell asleep on the couch, worn out from a day at preschool and running around the yard. The 4 adults sat on the patio as the sun set, painting the sky in oranges and purples. I got a call today from Marcus. The atmosphere immediately changed. James sat up straighter. My mother's face hardened. What did he want? My mother asked, her voice tight. He's living in Chicago now. He said he's been in therapy, working on himself. He said he's sorry for leaving, for not being there. He wants to meet Hope. Absolutely not, my mother said immediately. He abandoned you, abandoned her. He doesn't get to walk back into your lives now. I know. I told him no, but he mentioned something else. He's getting married. His fiancée is pregnant. He wants to clear his conscience, I think, to be a better father this time than he was to Hope. Good for him, James said dryly. How do you feel about it? Honestly, nothing. I thought I'd be angry or hurt, but I just felt empty. He's a stranger to me now. What we had feels like it happened to a different person. Because it did, my mother said, her voice softening. You're not the same girl who dated him. You're stronger now. Better. I'm different, I agreed. And I realized today that I don't need his apology. I don't need closure from him. I already have everything that matters. Rosa raised her glass. To family, the kind we choose. We all clinked glasses, and Hope's apple juice cup, which she had left on the patio table, and drank to that. Later that night, after everyone had gone home except James, I stood in the doorway of Hope's room watching her sleep. She was getting so big, losing the toddler roundness, becoming a little kid with opinions and preferences and a huge personality. Her nightlight, a turtle that projected stars on the ceiling, rotated slowly, making constellations dance across the walls. She's lucky, James said quietly, appearing beside me, to have a mother who fought so hard for her. I'm the lucky one. If you hadn't stopped that day, someone else would have. Someone had to. But they didn't. You did, and you changed everything. I looked at him. I never really asked you this, but do you ever regret it, taking us in? Your quiet life got a lot less quiet.
He smiled. I regret nothing. Caroline and I used to talk about what we'd do if we ever had children, what kind of parents we'd be, what we'd teach them. I never thought I'd get the chance to find out. But then you and Hope came into my life, and I got to discover I'm pretty good at this, at being Papa James. His voice caught slightly on the nickname. You're the best. You know that, right? You're the best man I've ever known. I'm just keeping a promise. He squeezed my shoulder. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's Saturday. Hope is going to wake you up at dawn wanting pancakes. He was right. Hope woke me at 6:30 a.m., bouncing on my bed, chanting, pancakes, 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 until I got up. We went downstairs to find James already in the kitchen, mixing batter. Blueberry or chocolate chip? He asked Hope. Both, she declared, mixed together. A woman who knows what she wants. I respect that. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen island, watching James and Hope work together. Him letting her pour in the chocolate chips, her giggling when some fell on the floor. This was my life now. This strange, beautiful, impossible life that had started with rain and cardboard and a Mercedes stopping at the curb. After breakfast, Hope wanted to play outside. James and I sat on the patio while she ran around with a bubble wand, chasing the iridescent spheres across the grass. I've been thinking about something, James said, and I want to run it by you before I do anything. Okay. I'm 73 years old. I'm healthy, knock on wood, but I'm not getting any younger. I've been thinking about my will, about what happens to everything when I'm gone. My stomach dropped. James, you're not... I'm fine, he assured me quickly. I just believe in planning, and I want you to know that I'm leaving everything to you and Hope. The house, the clinics, the investments, all of it. You can't do that. You have a sister, a nephew. I've already set up trusts for them, generous ones, but the bulk of the estate goes to you too. You're my family. This house is your home, and I want to make sure Hope is taken care of, that you're both secure no matter what. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know. And I want you to promise me something. Anything. When Hope is old enough to understand, tell her the story. All of it. The bridge, the rain, how you two ended up here. Don't let her think any of this came easy. I want her to know what her mother survived, how strong you are. She should know that kindness matters, that one person really can change someone's life. Tears were streaming down my face. I promise. He pulled me into a hug, and I let myself cry against his shoulder, this man who'd become my father in every way that mattered. That afternoon, Hope wanted to build a fort in the living room. We gathered every blanket and pillow in the house, draped sheets over chairs and the couch, and created an elaborate structure that took up half the room. Inside, with flashlights and books and stuffed animals, Hope declared it the best castle ever. Who lives in the castle? I asked, lying on the floor beside her. A princess and her family, and they're very happy because they love each other and they're safe. That sounds like a good story. It's my favorite story. Papa James told it to me. I glanced at James, who was sitting at the entrance to our blanket fort, reading a book to Rosa's grandson who'd come over to play. He looked up at me and smiled, and I smiled back. Mine too, I said to Hope. It's my favorite story too. As evening fell and Rosa took her grandson home and my mother stopped by with groceries she'd picked up for us, and we all sat down to dinner together, James, my mother, Hope, and me, I looked around the table and felt something close to disbelief. This was my life. This was real. After dinner, while James gave Hope her bath and my mother loaded the dishwasher, I stepped outside onto the patio and pulled out my phone. I hadn't posted on social media in years, had basically abandoned it during my time on the streets and never really gone back. But I felt compelled to share something, to mark this moment. I wrote, 4 years ago, I was homeless and pregnant, sleeping under a bridge. Today, I'm a civil engineer, a mother to the most amazing little girl, and part of a family I never saw coming. To anyone who's struggling, don't give up. Sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places, and sometimes kindness from a stranger can change your entire life. Stay strong. Better days are possible.
I posted it and put my phone away. Didn't check to see if anyone liked it or commented. It didn't matter. I'd said what I needed to say, put it out into the universe in case someone like past me needed to hear it. That night, after Hope was asleep and the house was quiet, I stood in my bedroom, the master suite that James had given me, the room that felt like home, and looked out the window at the backyard, at the swing set James had installed when Hope turned 3, at the garden my mother had helped me plant last spring, at the security and peace and love that surrounded us now. I thought about the girl on the cardboard. I wished I could go back and tell her what was coming, that in just a few hours a Mercedes would stop, that a man named James would offer her his umbrella and change everything, that she'd survive, that she'd thrive. But maybe she'd needed to not know. Maybe the not knowing, the surviving one day at a time, had made her strong enough to appreciate what came after. I placed my hand on the window, cool against my palm, and whispered to that girl across time, "We made it. We're okay now. We're more than okay. We're home." Behind me, I heard Hope calling out from her room, "Mama, I need water." I smiled and went to her. This little girl who'd been born into chaos and chosen by love. This little girl who'd never know hunger or fear or sleeping on cardboard. This little girl who had 3 grandparents, Caroline in spirit, my mother and James in body, and a mother who would move heaven and earth to protect her. "I'm coming, baby," I called. "Mama's here." And I always would be.